Well, my friends, I'm finally back. Oh, I am finally back. I have been through the ringer, but look, I just kept plodding along. I refused to give up. So, thanks for waiting. I had to, like I said, redo a few things and kind of check a few numbers. But so far, let's get right into it. Okay, when I left, you were knitting down. You were just simply knitting the pretty little button band lace right here on each edge, and then you were doing our raglan increases. This time we're doing the yarn overs just so that we can count, and I'm so glad that I kind of have this one for this sweater because I've had to count and recount. Okay, so let me go, and I said now, like I said, if no numbers are written in stone, and if I see that I need to change anything, I would. So right off the bat, on this video, I had put the schematics back up because I changed a number. In fact, I started to change more than that, but I stuck with, I kind of worked it out with the math again. You know, I'm just a sticker. I just know math because there's so many different body types and everybody's got their lumps and bumps in different places. You know, all the fluff doesn't always be in the same place. So, you know, I'm just trying to get through it. So, for instance, on schematic, large to 1X, which is schematic number 1, I changed this number to 44. I found I got all the way and got maybe a fourth of one sleeve done, and the sleeve just kept getting larger and larger instead of going down, even though I was decreasing. It was just too large, so I knew then that my base number, the thing about sleeves, you have to start really lower in the count and then work up to where you want to go. So for this schematic number 1, we're going to start and work the sleeve down to 44 stitches across here. So if you've been, some people just like to do their own thing and you've gotten all the way down, you can listen, or you can just, if you don't want to try to pull things back, you can always try to decrease. But that's why I said work a little bit down and stop and wait for me there, because this is what we're doing. We're trying to find, instead of bending our body or our bodies to patterns, bending our bodies like pretzels, which, with all the fluff, I just can't do anymore. I just started designing my own sweaters using my own numbers. That way I can just knit a sweater anytime that I want and just change the lace, get stitch books, stitches out of stitch books, and just have my own fun and way. It doesn't bother me that it's just a simple style or constructed sweater. I just want something that's going to fit or look nice on me. So that's the whole purpose of this. Otherwise, you could just go anywhere and get yourself a pattern. Go get yourself a pattern, and I'm sure it's going to be beautiful. So now on schematic number 1, again, the number here under everyone has 10 stitches in their sleeve. We started with 10. I may reconsider this later on. 10 seems, I don't know, but right now it's 10 only because it works great with the math. But I may have to go back down to 8. But right now it's 10, and then the number that I'm knitting up to that we're getting ready to look at is, for this person, is 44. Alright, I'm in the middle. This is schematic number 2. Here's 1X to 2X. I start with the same 10 stitches at the neckline, and I keep knitting back and forth until I reach 52 stitches. And you can see I put my masking tape so that I would remember I have counted both sleeves. Don't just count one sleeve. Always count both sleeves. Make sure you didn't mess up anything. If you went a tad over, we can always knit 2 together somewhere along the road to get you back to where you need to be. If you did kind of go over, that's okay. All right, so but there's my schematic. Now number 3, last but not least, all right, on this number 3, 2x to 3x, strictly by math, we start with 10, but you're going to knit up to 60 and stop for your sleeve. And we're going to see if these numbers will work good. All right, that's just a little, I just want to explain that. So when you see the schematic on the pictures, you would thought, something's different. So here I am at my 52 stitches. Now, another thing I thought, well, how else can I check and see, help people to kind of, because it's the sleeve that's always throws me off. All this other, I'm getting good at the numbers here. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to take a measuring tape. I want you to go to the largest section of your upper arm. Just like this. I don't know if I'm on camera, but I'll scoot over. Go to the largest section and pull this tape tight. I don't want a loose fit because the yarn stretches. If you give me a loose fit, then the yarn will just stretch and it will just still be too large. So when I pull this really tight around the largest part of my arm, I could even slide it up a little bit. I get 14 inches. 14 inches around this area of my arm, and I'm pulling it so there's no slack. Now, let's go to our sweater. At 52 stitches, I'm going to see how close I am to the 14 that I just measured. And without even knowing it, it is spot on. Now let's see if my camera is picking it up, or do I need to back out? Nope, you can see it. I'm not manipulating nothing or anything. I was like shocked. I thought, oh my gosh. Well, that's why I've been having problems with the sleeves. I've been starting, I started this number too high up. I may have started this number at 56 or something like that. Well, that's way too many stitches. You have to start real low to go up to where you want to go. And I'll show you as we get ready to, when we start knitting the sleeve. All right, so try that. Just see if you're in the ballpark. Say if you're off a few, maybe an inch or something, so you got to reel yours back in, or if my number is not quite right. Well, we can do some knit two togethers or something, but to get to the right number. So there's my number. I've checked both sleeves, and then I took some masking tape so I wouldn't forget. And I put it on there, and that's there. So that's so that's that. Now, the next thing is, a lot of people don't like the eyelets, but for this one, you'll probably be glad you did the eyelets, because we can count really easy and make sure that we got all the increases. So for my size, I'm in, number 2, I have 26 increases to make. So I counted, and I'm up to 25. After counting all my eyelets, I'm up to number 25. And this is where I think, as a shorter person, if you are 5 feet 5 inches and under, that's still relative, not, short. And there's just not that much room between your underarm and your torso, or your underarm and your waist. That's your torso there. Okay, so from under your arm to your waist, there's not a lot of room, not a lot of length there. I'm not going to get you to measure, but I'm just going to take a look at mine. Mine usually measures about 10 so inches, maybe 11. But so what I'm going to do, I want to try on this sweater for me after I finish my 25th yarn over increase. Then and I'm on the right side. Now I'm ready to start number 26 by the schematic. I'm not going to add that increase because I'm going to knit across. I'm going to do the button band and then knit. And when I get up here to where I'd have the eyelet, I'm not going to put the eyelet in. I'm just going to knit over to the sleeve and stop so we can pick up the sleeve. So I'll have the right number of rows, but I will be one less increase, and I'm going to see if that's going to make a difference so that my sleeve fits a little better under my arm and not have that big gush of fabric or something that seems to always kind of pucker. So So for the person on number 1, you would do all the way down to 23 increases. The 24th increase, you'd work the button band, you'd then knit across, and instead of doing that 24th increase, you just knit over to where the sleeve, where the marker is, and stop. We're going to pick up the sleeve and put it on our number 9 16-inch in length needles. I put my stitches on a needle. Now, some people will say, you know, people who really advanced knitting say, well, yeah, but then you can't try it on. You can try it on enough to know that you'll be able to get your arm in there enough to see what we need to do. But if you're uncomfortable or if that's not what you're used to and you like waste yarn, put yours on waste yarn. I just save that step and go ahead, and if I ever have to leave it, when I come back, whether it's a week later, a month later, or a year later, my needles are there. I don't have to wonder. It's ready for me to go and start working the sleeve. But anyway, I have one for each sleeve. So, all right, so that's as much as I'll say here. Then I'm gonna get set up, knit the button band, knit across, stop. We will get ready to put the sleeve on our needles. All right, back in just a moment. All right, so I'm back, and I have worked across my pretty lace button band and across this front. Now I'm up to where I've reached the last yarn over, but instead of working that yarn over, I just knit across to close those eyelets off. I knit across over to this marker that will show me where the sleeve will start. Here's my sleeve here. So now I'm just knit. Now I can take that off, and here's the sleeve. And then this is when you take your, put my yarn in the back here, the shorter. I use of course number 9, but 16 inches in length. This is when you have those needles. If you prefer to do, like I say, if you prefer to do a waste yarn, that's what you're used to, that's fine. I just go ahead and put each sleeve on these needles, and then they're there no matter when I come back to them. And all we're going to do is transfer them. So I start here on this end, and I simply transfer just like this. Make sure you have your marker. You just you just put you just in the purl-like position. You just transfer the stitches from this needle to this one. I had gotten past this, so I had to come back real quick. Make sure I had this on camera, but most people know how to do it, but I just wanted to have it on with my tutorial. So I'm just transferring all these stitches. I had 52. One stitch at a time. I have to be careful because I have to remember where my there we go. Then my marker would have been right here. I had taken it out, it had fallen off. So there's my marker to represent the back of the sweater. So I know that all my sleeve, all the stitches for my sleeve are now on my smaller 9/16. So I can remove the marker. Now watch. I'm going to cap. Let's see if I've got some caps here. Yes, I do. Yes, indeedy. I'm going to cap the original needles because I don't want to lose any stitches. Now I'm going to take my shorter 9, the ones that I have the sleeve on now, 9/16, and either you can just take a rubber band and wrap it around the two tips, or you can take some of these little pencil grips. The kids, you know, you can get them at the Dollar Tree or anywhere, and then they're kind of long, so I cut them in half, and that way I get two for one. But just slip them on your tips just like this. You see how hard they are? So therefore you know that your stitches on your sleeve are safe. Okay, I don't know why that keeps popping off. Okay, see how everything can just pop off, so you don't want that. Now let's go back to our original needles that has a sweater on it. Now we have the sleeve and then the sweater. And of course, look, there is the gap. The gap is what we have to fill, just like when we were knitting the front of a sweater and you have a gap to fill in there. All right, now for instance, on my schematic and on yours, there's 10 stitches that we started with. We started with 10 at the top. So I'm going to use that number as a reference, and you'll see how I can add at least 10 stitches back or 8 back to fill in this gap. And this is how we're going to do it. Get some yarn before we start. Now, use the way they teach you, or most people do it. They just do a backwards loop, which is very easy, and if that's what you're used to and you want to do it, that's fine. You just turn the yarn and wrap it over your thumb and go 1, 2, and they showed me that too, but I just always had a problem with it. It's not really a stitch, it's just a loop, and it can come off or it gets too tight. I couldn't get it off. I couldn't get it when I started trying to work the stitches. So this is what I do to make a real stitch. Okay, I'm going to bring it close. All right, to make a real stitch, I go into the last stitch here on my right needle. Go into it. Now I knit into the front, pivot, and knit into the back. So that's 1. I want to cast on 8 stitches. 8. I'll show you what we'll do with the others. But right now, so that's 1. Knit into the front, pivot, and knit into the back of that same stitch. So now there's 2. There's 2 stitches I've added. Alright, what I want to do is to make sure that I know where to center. So I'm going to make sure I get one of those little locking markers so that I can have it on hand when so that's 2. Now let's go again. I need 3. Knit to the front and into the back. So that's 3 so far, and I'm going to do 1 more for this half. Knit into the front, pivot, and knit into the back. That's 4. I'm going to cast on 8. So let me go ahead and do the next one. Knit into the front, pivot, and knit into the back. Alright, this is when you want to stop. Alright, you know that last one I just knit, so I'm going to put one right there. Put this little locking marker to let me know where the 4 stitches on this side. So I know where the center. Sometimes you'd be surprised how quickly you can lose the center. Things just look different sometimes. So, alright, so now I have, make sure the mark is on the, I twisted it, sorry. Okay, the marker belongs right here. Right between the stitch last stitch I made, right there. That's where it belongs. Alright, so now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, the center. That's where my marker. Now I've done 1 on this side. Now I have to do 3 more because I want 8 all together. Am I having a problem with my yarn? Okay, go to the last stitch. Make sure it's the last right here. Knit into the front, pivot, and knit into the back. It may seem hard and like, oh man, but once you get it, it is about the easiest thing you can do. I just go ahead and make a real stitch. So on this side of the mark I have 2. Okay, I got to go again. Make sure you go into this side the last stitch, knit into the front and knit into the back. Okay, from that marker, see, I can count now. 1, 2, 3. One more. Well, one more plus one. All right, knit into the front, knit into the back. All right, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4 on this side of the marker, and 1, 2, 3, 4 on this side. Can you see that? Okay, so now, for me, I want to join now and continue knitting across to the opposite sleeve, and we're going to do the same thing. When I join, it's like joining in the round. I always make an extra stitch. This is just me. If you have another way of doing it, or if you just want to, most people just start knitting across, but sometimes there's a big gap or there's a little loose, I don't know. Anyway, so I'll just do one more to show you what I do one more stitch, just like if I was knitting in the round. So there's my little extra stitch on the right hand needle. Okay, now to close the gap, I take this last stitch, slip it over to my left hand needle, just like that. Now that stitch and the first one on the left hand needle, I simply knit together. I'm going to pull it tight, really tight, knit, pull it again, stretch it. Now knit the next stitch, pull it tight, and again, oops, the next stitch. And now I can continue. I'll just go ahead and knit a few stitches so that you can. Okay, so now I can continue to knit across, and I have added 8 stitches. When we actually start working the sleeve, remember there is a component. Sometimes you need an extra stitch in each corner. That's where the 2 extra stitches come in to make a total of 10. I've already allowed for or made room for 2 extra stitches, one over here and one here if I need them. But I have 8 stitches I've picked up, and they're real stitches. You can see them right there. So now I'm going to work across, and you're going to work across to the opposite sleeve. You'd work to the marker, just like here. But before that, remember, just knit across. Don't do this last increase where we normally knit to 2 stitches before the marking yarn over. Just knit all the way up to the marker, take the marker off, cap the needle, and then start picking up or transferring your sleeve stitches to a waist yarn. You can use a needle and waist yarn, or with another number 9/16 inch. Alright, then all you have to do is purl back. You're going to have real stitches now to purl back on in that space. You won't have to be trying to pick up off the waist, those little stitches, those little loops. So purl all the way back, and I will see you on the right side. Alright, I've worked some off camera, and now I want to, we'll do a quick check-in. Here's my front, looking really well. Make sure that make sure your button band is still intact, the lace going down the front, because we will join it to the lace at the bottom. So you want to make sure you keep this going. Alright, don't worry, mistakes happen, don't worry, we're just working through this. So now, let's just take a look at what we have. When I left, we had, let me turn it to maybe one side, see which side might be the best. Alright, so see which one do I want to work on, because I'm going to use a new ball of yarn. I won't use the yarn that I have. Okay, so here is, let me line it up. When I left, we had gotten each sleeve. We put each sleeve on either waist yarn, however you normally do it. If you are, if you've done it before and you like the way you do it, that's fine. I go ahead and put mine on my number 9/16 inches in length circular needles. And there is my arm space with the bottom and the center marker, so I didn't have to try to figure out again where the center is. So I made sure that we did that, and as you can see, it has started to stretch out already. And here's where we drop and stop the yarn overs by going simply on that last increase. Like I said, I'm trying something new, so on the last increase, instead of going to my full 26, I did it on, after I did number 25, then for the 26, I just knit across and closed off the hole, and I did not increase. And I really, so far, I like it. So let's just see, I'll continue and see if it'll work out. If it will be something that will work. Now, what I suggest you do before we start this part of the sleeve, just to have something to hold on and to see, to keep this kind of in place, down here at the bottom, here, you can see, I just stayed in pattern for a while, so I suggest that you go ahead and knit the button band and just knit across and then purl back and do it for maybe about 3 or 4 inches and then stop, so that you have something already going towards the bottom, but yet I don't want you to have to come back and just hate having to come back to these sleeves or to get second sleeve syndrome. This is why we're going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and start the sleeve, and we're going to work through it so that you will have it and understand it, and it won't be it just won't, wear you down at all. You're just like, oh, okay, Jay, I got this. I see. All right, so now there's the sleeve. Here I am. I'm going to get I get an extra ball, a different ball of yarn than what I'm working the sweater. It's still attached, so it stays over there. Now I have a ball that I can just work a sleeve. You can be larger than this. I'm just going to do so many rows on camera. And then the next thing we need is another 9 circular needle. Now, before on some of my sweaters, you can use the same ones and come from the corner. We could do that too. But I just think for the way I'm going to show you, I'm trying to make it simple. Try to remember less steps. That one takes a little more steps and a little more thing, like, okay. So this is really easy because we already have the center marked, and I'm going to show you. You just need the extra needle. And like I said, they're not that expensive. So here we go. We're going to, let me double check my camera, see if I'm on, see if I need to come in a little bit. Don't want to get too close. Okay, where's Bird? I usually can tell from where Bird is if I need, okay. All right. So I hope, like I said, you have to know going in. People that follow me know going in. This is a big project. It's going to take some time, but that's all right. As long as, just don't stop. Keep going. So now here I have the center. Okay, so that means there's 4 stitches over here on this side. So I'm going to take this needle right here. Hold on just a minute. Alright, so now there's the center. The stitch right next to it is where you want to put your needle in. You'll see it go up under 2 strands. Right next to the marker, on this side of the marker, go up under 2 strands right there. Now I'm going to take my yarn off of my little yarn ball. I have to have a place to keep it, so I'll roll off, okay. And we just take the yarn and just hang it over our finger, and then we'll just hang it over the needle. And then I'm just going to pull both. There's like 2 strands, 2 pieces, just both of it through. Well, it's just one, but I'm holding both strands. All right, one's the tail and one's the yarn. Now I'm going to go ahead and go into the next stitch right next to it and pull the loop through. And you can see the tail and the regular yarn. So now I'm going to drop the tail. And make sure you leave a long tail because, things happen. There could be a little gap, a little stitch, and it could not be. All right, now we're going to just start knitting. Going around. There's 1, 2, 3. There there's my 1, 2, 3, 4. There are my 4 stitches. All right, so now I have a gap, but as I shared with you, I have already included that in my numbers so that my sleeve is not going to be growing. Sometimes that has been a problem, that the sleeve would grow. Whoops, I yanked the needle out. Because of stitches over here in the corner, but I've already included, we put 8 on the bottom, and then I allow for 1 on this corner and 1 on this, so that was a total of 10, the same number we started the sleeve with. That's how I was trying to gauge it. Alright, so now, let me get this needle out the way. I go here and I find a good place, not up under something like this where there's one strand, or I'd go right here. I'm going to turn it. I try to find a place where there's a good connection, where there's two strands on top. I'd go under both, put that 1 extra stitch there that's already in the count. And then, this just comes with practice, people. So, you just can't worry about it. You're going to hear a little outside noise, but I'm going to keep going and I'll speak up because I'm trying to get this done. Now, I'll just go to the first stitch on this needle here, and I'll just start knitting because we have the correct count. I have 52. You can look on your schematic and you should have the number, plus we added those stitches at the bottom and the little extra ones we're going to add in the corners. So I just knit around real quick. Now this is going to you're going to have to do a lot of moving of the sweater now. So I'll try to make sure I stay in camera range. In fact, do I need to swivel the can over a little more? Just to make sure I'm in camera range. Alright. And now I'm just going to knit around. I'll go ahead and do it on this first row, and then we'll skip around as we continue to work. But on this first round, not row, I'm sorry, get some yarn. Okay. That's the main thing, is just trying to get your yarn, keep your yarn straight. So I'm going to knit around. Of course, when I first started, learning how to do sleeves at the knit shop, we did a lot of it on, we didn't do these needles. We worked our sleeves on double points, on double pointed needles, which was, great learning way to learn. But I also have a wall phone, but I don't need to use it. I can use my mobile phone. So double point, but my wall phone comes in handy in case my batteries in my mobile phone goes dead. Sometimes the battery goes out and I'll be like, hello, hello. Well, guess what? I can go pick up my wall phone and it still works. So there's a place for everything, people. So if you're old school and you like to do double points, you can do these on double pointed needles. It's all right. I don't care. But I'm just doing these little circular needles because it's easier on my hand and easier to work. Alright, so now I'm working around. I'm just trying to get all this. I know it's bunched up, but just kind of go with it till I get so I can lay it out. There's no pretty way to do this because you have to move the sweater around. Now we're working with a big piece of fabric. So you just swivel it around. Sometimes I'll pin the fronts in a place or something, but we're working the sleeve. It's just easy to do this. Sometimes it's just not pretty, but that's okay. Alright, I'm coming up to my little gap. I want to get to that on this first row to make sure. Now you're going to find some of these stitches on this end might be kind of tight. Just lift them up with your fingernail and slide them up. Okay, now here we go. Instead of letting that little extra stitch in the corner be a surprise, or add stitches to the stitch count of my sleeve, I just built it in. I just started with 8 at the bottom of the bottom of the armhole, and then the 2 extra makes 10. Okay, here we go. Now, I just finished all the stitches that were on this needle here. So now I can lay it aside and use it in just a minute. So we'll lay that aside. I'm down here at the place you definitely can see there's going to be like a gap. So I find a nice place, not up under where there's a lot of just single strands like that funny place there. No, I'd go over, and there's a good place right there under 2 strands. Go there, now pull it nice and tight. Then you will go and look for your first stitch. And on this side, it's a little harder to find those 4 stitches, but just go back to the center marker. When you go back to the center marker, it's not in a stitch, it's just in a space. So the stitch is 1, 2, 3. So here's the first stitch right there, 4. So now I'm counting back, 4, then 3, 2, and 1. We got it. Alright, so let me just kind of let it sit here a minute so that you can kind of see. I had the 1 in the corner, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 on this side, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 on this side. On this side we have a double strand because I was holding 2 strands, but that's 1 stitch. Now watch. I want to take this off because this will be in the way, and now I can put in my official beginning of the round marker. That is my official marker, and if you want to take this down to the bottom, if you think, oh, supposing I'd lose it or drop it, or I might mess up, okay, that's a good idea, that's okay. You just look right here and see where it goes, and you can put this marker just to have a second, just to have it marked. Alright, so now, now we're going to start working in the round. Let me just kind of tell you what we're going to do. That first row, to keep your marker from falling off, just go ahead and take 1 stitch on this side of the marker. In fact, I'll take the first 2 and then we'll talk. So I go in and I knit. Make sure you don't get the tail by mistake and go to knitting. You want the working yarn. I knit 1. And then I'll go ahead and knit those 2 little strands that I held together, the working yarn and the tail. I just knit them as 1 stitch, stop, tighten up. Now, we just did a pickup or the first round, okay? I don't count that one. And now we're going to knit around again just to make it nice and smooth and that everything is nice and neat. Alright, and I'm not going to really worry about counting that one. This is just the way I do it. And I do it the same way each time so that I will remember. So now I'm just going to knit around, see if the stitches look good, see if I have those little extra stitches in the right place. Or do I need to move one or something? Maybe one might have gotten in the wrong place. Pull tight when you first get to them to tighten them up on this round. Okay, so far so good. Now see that looks like it might be a problem, but I have a tail that I can easily pull that together if I need to, or I can go back out and see if I can change the place of the stitch. I might move the stitch over, but I can have a tail, so I'm not going to worry about it. See? Because here are the eyelets, so it's not the eyelet, so there's something. But I don't want you to get hung up on that, because you could be here all day trying to find, well, let me see what's wrong with that. Well, I don't know, maybe that's not a curve. We can just take that tail and pull it together when we're done. See, just like that. Bingo. So let me go on, so because I have something more important to share with you than worrying about that. Alright, so now I'm pushing stitches and I'm moving around. Because I want to start counting. In order to do, we start doing decreases right away. We have my number for my sleeve stitch count is 60 stitches. What is wrong? Oh Lord. I was up half the night trying to reknit this thing. Okay. I have 60 stitches in my total sleeve here on this needle. So as I come down my arm, it needs to decrease, even though I'm only going about this far. I'll tell you if you want to go all the way down to a cuff, to a, more of the wrist. So I'm going to show you that's the most important and wonderful thing, because I want to show you my simple and easy decrease, and it makes the prettiest little seam. And guess how I found it? Now it might be something everybody does, I don't know, but it just happened to me. I made a mistake one time, and I liked it so much I kept it. I said, oh my gosh, I like that, but it was a mistake. I was trying to follow somebody else and I made a mistake. And I liked what I had better. So I thought, okay, well, every time I do my sweater sleeve, that, I'm sure somebody else does the same thing, but I'm just telling you, it was a mistake. Now I'm just rotating. Like I say, you just have to look over the whole bunch of sweater till we get enough of the sleeve done. Of course, I'm going to do some off camera eventually to get it up to a point that you can really see. But first you need to know how to start this. These first 2 rounds do not count. I am not counting them. I'm just simply doing them. I picked up the stitches on the first round now. This is, I'm going around just knitting all the stitches just to smooth it out, make sure I didn't do anything or drop a stitch, and maybe I didn't notice it. Maybe I dropped a stitch here or something and didn't notice, or drop. That's all I'm doing is just checking to make sure all the stitches are here and they look just right. So I'm just knitting around, pushing the stitches. Get a little more yarn. There we go. Alright, I'm coming up to the bottom, so I just keep knitting. Nothing special yet. Get that little tail out of the way. Rotate my sweater. Let's see if I can put some of that bulk on this side so you can see what I'm doing. So far, that's what I have, and that's where I am. I'm just knitting around, pushing these stitches just like this until I get back to the marker. That's why I didn't do the one on the side. Sometimes, like I say, I do the one on the side sometimes, but this is the easiest one when you just put it in the center. Alright, so now I'm up to the marker. There's the last stitch before the marker. Now I'm going to slide the marker, knit 1 stitch, and stop. Now we talk a minute. But first let's look. See what we have, if I can make it clear. Okay, see? There's my center marker. I've gone around. Everything looks nice and neat. I didn't seem to have a problem on this side, or I could have, I don't know, but we'll just take care of it as we have to. Alright, so the next thing I want to share with you, we have to keep track now of the rounds. We're going to have to keep track of the rounds. Now, you can have a clicker. You can have the little rotating keeper. But I'm going to do, I know you're probably going to say, oh, no, Jay, the old school. Yeah, I got to do the old school. Because it's the most reliable. All right, hold on a minute. I just want to give you a laugh. Hold on just a minute. Okay, so before we get into how I do this decrease, and I do it the same way every time, and it works out. So I'm going to try to share it with you in just plain talk, just real simple terms, nothing fancy. All right, so, but I wanted to show you this because one time, real quick, I was watching the Bakery Bears, and they're one of my favorite YouTube channels. I don't know them, they don't know me. You know, I've never left a message or nothing, but I watch them when I could. And I remember back when Dan was learning to knit, and she was teaching him how, you know, how to knit and how to count your rounds or rows or whatever. So they got into a little discussion, and they spent the whole episode just about trying to decide whether to click or not to click, or how to count the rounds. So her premise, I think she clicks before, which, you know, you have to decide, you know, how you click. How you do. See, I don't even know how to use the thing. I bought it because everybody's got one, so I thought I had to have one too. You know how to click. Do you click before the increase, or do you click after the increase? And he wanted to click one way, and no, she was going to. Then you can also use this little thing. It just rotates. It just rotates the. So you start with the 0, then there's a 1. So you can do that. But do you do it? Do you rotate it before the round or after the round? And he was saying she was wanting to click. You know, he said, no, I clicked before. She said, no. It was so funny. I laughed the whole thing. And then I thought, I'm going to put my clicker in the drawer. I don't even want that. So I went back to old school. Dan and Kay Jones. That's it. Kay Jones, Kay and Dan Jones. The Bakery Bears. All right. So it just reminded me of that. Kind of like a movie. They made their own movie and they didn't even realize it. All right, so old school way, real quick. I just put on you're going to need a nice piece of paper. And I got sleeve decrease. Okay, if you want a medium length sleeve, medium length to me on my little short arms is between my elbow and my wrist. Okay, I have hot flashes, so I don't need all that. So that's medium. I'm going to do 4. It's going to be, I will do the increase on every 4th round. I will make, a decrease. Did I say decrease? I will do a decrease on every 4th round for my medium length sleeve. If you want your sleeve to be longer, or you just have longer arms and you need to have more knitting down here, wherever, then on every 6th round of the sleeve, you're going to do a decrease. And I'm going to show you how, and then I'm going to show you how I mark it, and then, like I said, or you can just figure out, should I click before, or should I click after? I don't know. Okay, here we go. So, this starts to count. I think the first 2 rounds, first when I picked up the stitches, the second time I went around, I just cleaned up everything, make sure it looked good. I could have tried to fix these holes, or, but I'm not worrying about it. I just need to get to this part. So now, this starts round 1. This is the actual round 1. But I don't count. Okay, we're not even going to get into it till we get to the end. And I'll show you. All right, so here we go. I'm going to knit around. Just knitting now. This is the fun part. But you have to keep up with which round you're on. So I want you to just knit around. Don't worry if there's a extra, like I said, I have a tail. Knit around, and I will see you at the marker, or close to the marker. So I'm just going to knit off camera real quick, come around, no sense in wasting batteries, and then I'm going to do the first whole set with you so that you can see it. So I'm just knitting around. and come back towards the marker. Back in just a minute. Alright, so I have made it back around to my marker, the center marker. That's all I'm interested in doing. This was the first round that we are counting. Now when I make it around to the marker, and I put on a bright red one to remind me, I knit the stitch right before the marker, stop. Okay, this is the way I do it every time. It turns out beautiful every time, so this is going to be a rule. So we won't have to worry about whether to click or not to click. This is with stop. Alright? Now, right here on my sheet, I have made one complete round and I'm at the marker. That's when I put my mark. When I reach the marker. Not when I start, but when I get to the marker. So I'm going to put one mark. I have just made one complete round. That was round 1. Lay that down. Now I slide the marker. Now I can say to myself this is round 2, but I can't mark it until I make it to the back all the way around till I get to the marker. It doesn't count until I get here. I just set that rule. So I just set this rule for me, and it comes out so pretty every time. So I'm going around. I will see you when I get all the way around to the marker again. I'm just going to do these real little quick shorts so that you can get it and see it in real time. Alright? I'm going to continue around. I'll see you right before the marker. Alright, I've made it around to the marker. I'm coming up. Right here. You can see the marker. So I have a nice bright red one. I actually work up to the last stitch right before the marker. Stop. Okay, stop. I get my little thing. I am doing medium, and I'm going to be doing 4 rounds. If you want a longer sleeve, you're going to do 6 rounds. So I have just made the second round, so I'm going to put my little mark there. Lay that down, come back, slide the marker. Alright. Of course, I can say to myself, this is round 3, but I can't mark it. I can't, it's a rule. I have to go all the way around. So, I will see you at the end of round 3. This is going to be fun, and I'm doing it in little spurts here, just so that you can get the importance of it and how easy to make it. Back in just a minute. Alright, I'm coming up to the marker for the 3rd time, so I can knit right up, and don't stop till you knit the stitch. Right at the marker, right there. See? So I grab before you do anything else, you grab your little paper. So this is going to be round number 3. So if I walk away, I know immediately, and come back, I know immediately I've done 3 rounds. 1, 2, 3. Now, here comes the most important round. Okay. If you're doing, this is going to be round 4, or if you're doing the longer sleeve, this will be your round number 6. You're going to be marking on your thing. Alright, so I slide the marker. As soon as I slide the marker, stop. This is the decrease round, because this is round 4. I am going to knit 2 stitches together. And then pull those 2 stitches nice and tight. You slide the marker, knit 2 stitches together, pull them good and tight. Now continue around. Just like this. Alright, I will see you as I work around round 4 for me, or for the person doing the longer sleeve, this will be round number 6. It's where you're going to start out. As soon as you slide the marker, I'm going to knit 2 stitches together. Alright, back in just a minute. Alright, so I'm back around to the marker. And this is my decrease round, and this will be yours, whether you're working the 4-round version or the 6-round version. So I knit up. This time I knit up to 2 stitches before the marker. I knit up to 2 stitches right before that. I have a little red marker there. Now I'm going to knit those last 2 stitches before the marker together. Knit them together, tighten up really, pull them, tighten up, slide the marker. Okay. I'm just going to knit 1 stitch to hold my marker on. Alright, so stop. I just don't want to lose my marker. Alright, so stop. This was my round 4. It was the decrease round. If you remember, I started with knit 2 stitches together when I started on this side of the marker, and I came all the way around, and I ended with knit 2 stitches on this side of the marker. Now I go to my old school tally sheet. When I do this, I know that I have finished round 4 and and made the decrease. I go across. That means I worked all the way around 4 and made the 2 decreases on each side of the marker, where I simply just knit 2 stitches together. Now guess what? We lay this down, and now once I start on this side, guess what row we're on again? We're on row 1. So row 1, I just knit around, and we'll just kind of talk you through a little bit, and then I'm going to knit some off camera, and you can too. Okay, so now I'm back to row 1. Row 1, I knit all the way around, get to the marker. Before I slide the marker, I put my mark. Okay, slide the marker, start around again. That's round 2. Put my mark. Start again. Round 3. Get to the marker, put my mark. It's round 4. I slide the marker, I knit 2 stitches together, knit all the way around, and right before the marker, I knit the last 2 stitches together. And then I show that I did 4 rounds. Or if you're doing the 6th round, you'd go around till you head to your own round 6, and then you do the same thing. Same decrease. Knit 2 stitches together, and then knit 2 stitches together at the end. Alright, so now I'm going to let you work a little bit and see what you can do, and then I'll come back and you can look at mine, and hopefully I can see yours eventually. So that's easy, simple decrease on this little sleeve, and we'll just go from there. Alright, back. I'll take a little time and get this, see how much I can get done. My son's going to pick this up, so let's see what I can get done before I have to ship this off. Alright, back in a little bit. Alright, I wanted to come back before I send you off with some homework. We made it this far, but I wanted to share with you. Here is my underarm seam right there. And it's so hard, you can hardly even see it. This is the underarm seam that you are working right now on this sweater. What do you think of that? I'm going to bring it real close. I'm going to pull it, see? It's nice. And we'll just touch up, use the long tail to touch up anything later, but we've got a good ways to go. So homework is to work it off camera, is to continue with the sleeve. Let me turn the sleeve so you can see it from this direction when it's laying with the sweater. In fact, let me just go ahead and lay the sweater out. I'm a little tangled up here. I got all these different yarns going, but I can at least get one side. nice and clear with the sleeves. I'm going to bring this over. I can take my little tag off now so it doesn't interfere. It's just some masking tape. And here is, let me take this off so it'll spread out on the needles. You can see the nice shape you're going to have. Here is the front of the sweater and the sleeve. Now let me check, see if I need to back. Yes, I do. Back out just a little bit. Alright, so now you can see the sleeve much nicer than the second sleeve I had, where I just had too many stitches and it was just not going to look very flattering at all. So there is what you are working on, trying to get your sleeve. Just follow your steps. Be sure to do your little tally or however you want to do it. See? And all you have to do is on the 4th or 6th round, knit 2 together at the marker, and then when you come back to the marker on the back side, knit 2 together. And how easy is that? Okay. I can't think of anything else now. If you get tired of doing your sleeve, then you can stop and work on the bottom. Like I said, only knit down about, on this bottom, about 3 or 4 inches, and then stop. Don't add any more because we have to put the lace. So, but I don't want you to get, like I say, second sleeve syndrome, or just don't get the sleeve done. So if I were you, I would continue to work this sleeve, then simply go over here. Once you get it down, you got it down, then work the opposite sleeve. And you wonder, well, how far to go down? I just want you to go down to however far you, if you're going here, go down and stop, leave the needle in, put the little thing, because we have to put a some type of 1x1 ribbing, or you can just, some of you might just want to knit off, just put some garter ridges or something. But knit down to the length that you're aiming for. Well, this length here in the center of, or closer to the wrist. And then if you're going to do ribbing, of course, you're going to need some double-pointed needles. We'll talk when we come back. We'll just let me get mine done, and let me tell you what we really need. I don't like to tell you anymore until I get mine done, since I'm working in real time. I have to, so if it's wrong, I have to take it out, put it back. That's what happened. So you might be getting this is why you're getting this one just a little late. Or, just that I'm a little rushed because, man. But I'm so glad I was able to fix and think through the sleeve and get it to a much nicer sleeve. So, that is the homework. I would work my 2 sleeves so that when we finish the lace, you don't have to go back up and get your sleeves. This is Jay, and this is Jay's Knit and Purl Jam, and we're working top down. We're working top down, so to all my friends, everyone, everywhere, every size, I want you to just happy knitting and just take your time and work at your own pace. It will be on the YouTube, so you don't have to try to worry about, well, it's only going to be here for a little bit and I better hurry. No, just work at your own pace, because there are some that are still really new, because I can tell by the questions that they ask. And to my friend Sandra, I think I will do just one without a plain. I'm going to call it Jay's Knit, the Plain Jane Top Down Sweater. I don't know anybody named Jane. I hope I'm not hurting anybody. But I think I'll do one just to have it on hand. All right, but right now, stay focused. Sleeve, sleeve. All right, take care, and I will see you. I'll see you next time when we get ready to try to put the finishing touches on this sweater. Bye-bye.